We're live. Hey
Right.
everybody, I'm Trey with Sleight of Hand, and I am honored to have some friends of mine here on our Zoom call. My friend Eric Lilbois and Kate Neckel, the two of them are the Copper Trees, and we are so excited to have them in. Hi guys, how are you?
Hey, good to see you,
Good to
buddy.
see
Good to
you.
see you too. So it's I just mentioning we got to catch up a little bit at Smash, and how cool was that, by the way?
Oh man, incredible. And such a awesome organization and everything that they do. It's just so rad. Such a fun party.
A great party. Ian Moore, I was honored to have him play our space back in 2019
Yeah.
with Mark Pickerel. Mark played drums for him, and I can't remember who rounded out his band, but Mark did a little opening set, and then Ian just tore the roof off that place. That guy is a monster guitar
That's what he
player.
does. That's what he does.
Have you ever had him in your studio up there, by the way?
I haven't ever. Ian and we've threatened the collaboration for many years, but yeah, I haven't had him here. Yeah.
I don't know where he does. I know he lives part time in Vashon. I know he lives a little bit in Austin and stuff too. But very cool. He started that organization. And anyway, that Bowie night was it was incredible. So much fun.
Yeah.
Kate, if you were there, I'm sorry I missed you.
No, I wasn't there, but I heard lots of beautiful things and saw some cool videos. So,
Yeah, they should take that thing on the road, man. You know what I mean? Like if they did that in like 4 or 5 cities and just did the local musicians in each of those cities. Oh my goodness.
Oh man,
They would
seriously.
kill it with that.
Yeah. Well, that kind of concept came over from Austin, so it's like, yeah.
Right. Yeah, and I know Ben London, who we work with Black Fret and his organization, and we host a lot of the Black Fret shows in our Soto space,
Yeah.
which is always so much fun for us. Ben gets to curate a bunch of killer bands, and we
Totally.
get to have a bunch of fun people in our space to listen to music and drink wine and all that fun stuff. So.
Yeah, now Sonic Guild, they changed the name, so it's
It's funny you said that. I saw that, I think yesterday or the day before. Daniel pointed that out to me, so I'm gonna have to get used to calling it Sonic Guild for sure. So, well, you guys have played my space as well, and this interview and this album kind of coming out to our vinyl club is a long time coming, actually, because the album came out in 21,
right. Yeah.
and you guys recorded it during the pandemic, during 20.
Yes, this was a pandemic baby.
it was,
Okay.
it was a beautiful
Um,
incubation
well,
period.
yeah, well, it was a good incubation period. I'm sure there's plenty of time for reflection during that time for everyone. And for me, I felt like that album, I wrote down, listened to it all day yesterday, listened to it all day today, and I wrote down a bunch of words that just kind of would pop up. I'm like, oh, not what it reminds me of, but just sort of key words of what that album was. And I wrote down hushed, dreamscape, lots of space between the notes, emotional, quiet, introspective, raw, honest, open. To me, that is what that album is, and I'm really excited to kind of dive into it and have you guys talk about it. But I think we should do a little bit of background work here. Eric, I know a lot about your story, and but for our folks who don't know you, we'll get into that. But Kate, other than what I've read, I really don't know much about your history. I do know you're a visual artist, a painter, and that you're from New York. And so New York to Seattle. Let's maybe talk about your history in art and then how you got from New York to Seattle, and maybe were you doing music in New York at all before you came out here, or was that all new too? So,
Right. So, in New York, I was doing many different things. I mean, I moved there, started off, painting, showing in galleries, but I had the delightful pleasure of working with David Byrne for a while. We did an album together and made a book together. And so
what?
I was his art assistant.
That's
And
incredible.
at the time, I didn't know, like, music has always been in my life. I've always, you know, been around music, loved going to shows in New York. I just never thought that a guitar could be part of my repertoire in terms of like self-expression. You know, I used many other tools. I made videos, I made books, I made, you know, paintings, whatever. I try and follow my curiosity, but it took moving to Seattle, having my collaboration with Mike McCready, that really cracked open the musician in me that's been sitting there since I was a little girl. But I've just been, I was afraid of opening my, you know, I just didn't think it was a possibility.
Yeah. It's
Um,
probably the same fear that a lot of any musician probably has, like, you know, what does my voice sound like? My voice
yeah,
isn't good enough. I can't play like him. There's no way I'm going to be good enough to do this, blah, blah, blah. So,
I didn't know. So it's just kind of this unwinding. And then I remembered that Eric had been at one of my shows at the Winston Wachter Gallery during one of those performances with Mike. And I was like, this is the guy I want to work with. You know, I wanted to record these songs that had come out of that project. And so I got in touch with Eric, and first, I mean, like, what, first, second day we were together?
Yeah.
It was just like, this
and
is,
started writing.
let's,
Did you already have these songs, Kate? I mean, before you met Mike and started that project, did you already have stuff in your head? I mean, okay, like lyrics, or were you writing music at the time at all?
zero. And then
Okay.
with Mike, we were just meant to, you know, our first day together, I rolled out a canvas and I was painting, and he was just going to score the music to what I was painting. But then the project really transformed when we're like, no, let's switch here. You take the guitar, and then I gave Mike the paintbrush. And so we just made each other, you know, it was like we pushed each other to get out of our comfort zones.
Yeah.
I had just written down some words and observation of what I was seeing in an interaction with him. And then he's like, no, those are lyrics. Do you want to try and sing, you know, what you wrote? And then it was a moment where I
Yeah.
off the, you know, you got to, as I think Bowie says, like, you got to step out to where you can't quite touch the bottom. And that's where, you're in interesting territory.
Oh, yeah.
So luckily I
It's
walked
nice to
out.
have somebody pushing you as well.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure if you were alone by yourself, you're like, oh, you know, it's just so easy to be negative about stuff like that, and having somebody to be able to push you in that direction and certainly get you out of your comfort zone and get you creating in a different way is pretty
I'm very
awesome.
grateful. Mike and, Josh was there, and Neil, the whole very supportive group of men there that really
Yeah.
nurtured that. So I'm very grateful.
I'm sure Mike's probably at home saying the same thing about you for painting, you know? I mean, I'm sure that you pushed him out of his comfort zone to pick up a paintbrush and try to put something on paper too. So that's pretty awesome. And it's nice that you already had that artistic, spirit in you already. I think that probably made it a little bit easier.
Sure.
Eric, when you went to that show, and I'm sorry I missed that, by the way. I knew about it, but being in Walla Walla, it's a little more difficult for me to get over the past for all the fun stuff that we want to do. But I remember hearing about that, and I thought, oh, what a really neat art project. It's not necessarily a music project, and it's not a paint project. It's an art project. What did you think when you saw that, Eric, for the first time?
I mean, just blown away on a number of levels. I mean, first of all, it's like you walk in and Mike and Kate are taped to the wall, and it's like, what's happening here? Like, what?
That's right.
Like,
Oh, the duct tape.
So it certainly came at it with like a lot of curiosity and was just blown away by the experience and how fun and kind of chaotic it was, and wasn't expecting, I don't think, to walk out, just sort of as enamored with Kate as a musician. I kind of walked in expecting an art experience and not really, having too much of a idea of what I was going to see musically, and walked out going, wow, this is, there's something really here. So
That's awesome. I know, Eric, you have London Bridge Studio. For those who are watching, London Bridge is a historic music studio located north of Seattle. couple of good bands have, recorded some albums there, one or three. Eric and I met through our love of Pearl Jam together, and our mutual friend Tim Bierman introduced us years ago, and I'm grateful for that introduction for sure. And I've been fortunate enough to walk through London Bridge a few times with Eric and see that space and feel the energy in there. And so, Kate, when you guys started talking, how soon, I guess, did you guys get together to start talking right after your shows, I guess?
So there was a bit of a gap. I mean, that show was in March, and then I had a tour, or like a mini tour with Mike, and Josh Klinghoffer actually at that time joined us for some shows. So it wasn't until I think we finished up shows in September. You were at the Grammys. So I got in touch with you maybe January or February.
Yeah, that sounds right. January, February.
And then we were, setting up dates in February. And then March, I think it was like March 2nd or 3rd, because March 3rd is my birthday, and we were in here on my birthday.
And is that March 3rd of 21 or 2020?
2020.
2020, yeah.
So right before COVID locked everything down, you guys were getting together right then. Okay. Yeah.
Right
then. Yeah.
Eric, I actually think I saw you at the Vera Project. The Vera Project benefit in February, right before I guess you guys were kind of getting together, because I actually had COVID during that event. I was so sick that day, but I didn't want to miss it because that event is so fun. And I went home that we, when the event was over on Saturday night, we went straight back to the hotel, and by Sunday I was on death's doorknob. We had to drive back on top of it, and I think I spent all Monday. So that may have been the original Super Spreader event.
All right, you started
Vera Project.
Yeah. No, that's crazy, because that Grammy trip that she's talking about, right around then, my family came home, and we were all, the sickest that we'd ever been. We recovered, but that was before anyone was even talking about it.
Exactly. I certainly didn't get diagnosed with COVID. I just was. I had. Anyway. Yeah. So.
Wow.
Well, Eric, tell us a little. Go ahead and give everybody a little bit about your background, because you don't just own London Bridge. You have a very storied career as a musician, as well as a producer, not just here in Seattle, but you got did you get your start in LA, or you really just were in LA for quite a while for music?
Yeah, definitely got my start there. I had a studio down there called Crown City for quite a while, and started as a musician, and was in a band called The Days in Between for a long time. We did some touring in the Northwest and Southwest, made all our own independent records. And that's kind of what, led me towards production. It was sort of just, production came after the fact. It was like really a product of working on all of my own records with The Days, and then other artists kind of starting to collaborate with them, and folks kind of would come into our space, and it just kind of all grew from there in that little studio in California. And first time I came here to London Bridge was on a Days in Between tour. It's in 2005, and we were total knuckleheads and didn't do our paperwork properly for getting into Canada, and we had this big long tour set up. It was our first time getting like serious guarantees and these big shows, and just rejected at the border. And so they banned us from entering Canada for a year, and we're stuck in Seattle. We don't know what we're gonna do. And I remembered this place, London Bridge, this storied place that was in all these liner notes when I was a kid, and called the place up and see if they'd, give us a tour. And my now partners had literally just bought the place. They were still painting the walls, and I was the first artist to walk in the door. In that
That's
time.
crazy. He bought that from Rick, right?
Raj, yeah. Rick
and Raj.
So
that's funny, because that year you said 05, that was the same year when, Raj, whatever money Raj got out of that deal, He went and bought a 40-acre piece of property in Eastern Washington that had a vineyard on it. And someone had alerted to me to the fact that this guy, Raj Parashar, bought this vineyard site, and it had this old vine Cabernet and had this old vine Chardonnay on it and stuff. I just couldn't get over the fact that this guy who owned London Bridge Studio, who spent all this time with Pearl Jam, is now, I'm like, I got to go meet this guy.
Yeah.
And when I met him, he was just absolutely the kindest human being I had ever met. And he came out to visit. I'd known him for about a year and a half. And then when I started my label in '07, we rented this tiny little space downtown Walla Walla. Raj drove every day for 2 weeks from his Benton City address, which is an hour and 10 minutes away, into Walla Walla, and helped me redo the floors, the walls, the electrical. That guy could do everything in there.
Wow.
And I'm like, all right, Raj, send me an invoice. Where he's like, oh no, I'm not going to charge you. I said, you can't not charge me for all this work you just did.
Wow.
Yeah,
he built this place. They hired an acoustician, Jeff Turner, to like design it. But Raj was the one who put the walls up.
Crazy.
Jeff Turner would come down and like check in and make sure that everything was to plan and to spec. But I mean, this is all Raj's blood, sweat, and tears for sure.
That had to be so cool for you guys to walk in there with your band back in '05 or whatever, just to get that first tour. I know how I feel. I'm not even a musician. I know how I feel when I walk into his studios, and I've had the fortune to walk into some really cool ones, and just to feel that energy. Yeah. So that had to be awesome for you, especially because you were a touring musician at the time as well.
Yeah, and just those. I mean, honestly, man, those liner notes as a kid, it was like every record I was into, I'd like
London Bridge.
Right.
So I thought for sure I was going to end up in London one day and go see this place. Yeah.
Did you happen to record there with your other band?
Yeah. So we did a record here that in 2005. We ended up staying in Seattle for like 2 weeks and doing a bunch of shows. Played the Nectar. Played every place in town that would take us. The Funhouse.
As long as they didn't require like a 2-week window in the front or back end, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, no, man, I played yesterday at the Crocodile. We're gonna play at the Tractor tomorrow.
I know, yeah. But yeah, good times. That was a fun. We did that record to tape, and so that doesn't happen too often here anymore.
No, that's so cool. And then, how many years later before you decided to become a partner with the studio?
So I'm coming up on my 10-year anniversary here as the owner. I was doing, I had my studio down in LA. I was kind of bringing some projects back up to Seattle, back and forth. And so, yeah, 2013.
Wow.
Was when I officially.
Awesome. Congrats. We got to celebrate that somehow.
Yeah, man. 10 years.
No joke.
Yeah.
Definitely. Well, make sure we're there for the party. We'll bring the wine. So
awesome.
All right. So let's go ahead and talk about this album. Kate, you guys got together in February, March of 2020. You had obviously talked to Eric about this idea you had of maybe Eric talked to you about, hey, let's get together and do an album. Was the idea that you were going to do a solo album and Eric was going to produce it initially?
That was the plan.
And by the way, did you just happen to like learn guitar in like 6 months? You know what I mean?
I have always had a guitar. I have this little Martin guitar. Like you might see this little tiny, it's, this very small Martin that I like to play. I've had this guitar since my early days in New York. It's kind of like, wake up, Kate, it's like, I don't know. I've had this guitar with me and I could play I could play a G, a D, E minor, I can play a handful of things. I've always kind of held it, and people say, oh, Mike McCready must have been a great guitar teacher. They always want to and it's like, Mike really just left me alone and said, don't watch YouTube. I'm not gonna just keep doing what you're doing.
Mm.
You have a style, you have this way that you play, just keep using you, which I'm very grateful for. But yeah, we would work together like 8 hours a day, either painting, creating work for the show that we had. But yes, I just did start playing guitar, and I'm still trying to play like an F is my, I have calluses, Trey, to show, I love it so much.
One thing to own it, but you do have to pick it up and play it. That's for sure. Paul and I learned that when we first started dating. We had talked about one of our things we talked because we both love music so much, and I'm like, I've always wanted to learn how to play guitar. She's like, oh my gosh, me too. It's one of the first things that I bought her as a gift was I went to Guitar Center on Roosevelt and 63rd or whatever it is down there, or 58th or whatever it is. Anyway, and went in and just told the guy, said, hey, I need 2 acoustic guitars. Please don't make them expensive. We just literally want to learn how to play guitar together. And so I bought these 2 guitars, gave her one. I think we went to 1 guitar lesson. We have a buddy in town here in Walla Walla who's really good guitar teacher. I'm like, look, just teach us like 3 notes. Give us 3 things that we can play off of each other, and then we'll practice those. Then we'll come back to see you. Those things look really good on the wall, though.
Yeah. Man, got to get them autographed.
Maybe something, I don't know, but at least you took yours off the wall, Kate, and you started dinking around on it and stuff. And so you walk in, you have this idea, you want to record the solo album. At what point are you looking at each other and going, "Hey, we should do this together"?
I remember the moment.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah, but please.
I was going to say, there was a song, it became the song Eyes. I brought it in.
I love that song.
And it was Put Me in Your Heart Break is what I was saying. It became Look Me in the Eyes Stay. So that song came in, and I brought that song in, and then Eric was out on the piano, and he started playing on the piano and started the chord. It was also beautiful, and there's like video. I'm in here in the control room. I'm like, I want you on everything. It's like what I said out loud is like, I want like just what he was doing, like the way that the songs were, or this, that song was coming together. It was just like, we're meant to do this together.
Yeah.
Is that what you were gonna say?
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, I just remember that like we would do these like little pre-production huddles, and it's not far different from what I do with other artists, but there was just this a totally different, I don't know how to explain it, but like internal energy shift in the way that we were bouncing things off each other. And then after Kate, that pull piano thing, and Kate had said that, it kind of cracked that idea, I think, wide open in both of us. And I remember just standing in the kitchen and being like, I think we're in a band together. Like, is that what's happening here?
I know.
And it's like, we should probably start looking at band names.
It really was just like that.
That's awesome.
Okay, why not? Like, I don't know. Like, okay, let's do this. Yeah, because it was so, you just know when you get that, like, okay, this is way more than like 3 demos that I brought into, just to be like, I made an EP or something. It's like, no, we have much more to create together.
And it's awesome just having someone that's what they've done their entire life is create music like that. And so, it's just that's a great hand to hold, and to be able to bounce ideas off of someone that has all that background and knowledge, and, and says, that's a great idea. Or, what if we do this? Or, but these songs on this album, they aren't structured like, I'm not going to say a normal song.
That's right.
They're structured in a way that is varied. It goes back to very honest, very free flowing. It was not like verse, bridge, chorus, blah blah blah.
I didn't know that there was a bridge, Trey.
Yeah, what's a bridge? I didn't even know what a bridge is. You hear it, you hear people talk about the bridge, but I don't even know what that is. And so so I think that's where the honesty in these songs come through. Is that you literally just put in, and Kate, are these all your lyrics, or are these a combo?
No, it's all combo. It's like everything is.
It's all meshed together.
Combination, like Eric. Well, like "Take a Seat in My Heart" is the thing. Like I remember waking up with the phrase "Take a seat in my heart," and I texted over to Eric like, "Hey, I woke up with this lyric. And then that afternoon, he sent me back a demo. I was like, here, this is how the melody I'm hearing. And so a lot of it's that beautiful kind of ping pong.
Yeah.
Or things like Lay Down. He woke up and that Lay Down song is the actual voice memo that you made that morning.
Yeah.
And like Paint a World is one that I just kind of, so it's a combination, but it's always.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like the underlying principle is as long as it comes from the truth, it's like it's fair game, and we're not like from day one. It's like we weren't trying to manufacture a sound or anything. It was like what's coming together, honestly and just naturally flowing between the two of us. That's why like Eyes, even once we got the foundation of that down, that's like one take of us singing together.
Wow.
A lot of it's
incredible.
Just like 2 microphones.
Yeah.
Julian was in here. Yeah, it's just very like.
It's you had to be. It's so the album is so quiet.
Yes.
And so like again, like raw and open and stuff. You think about that mic in there. I mean, you literally could hear a pin drop in there.
Yeah.
There, I swear to God, I can hear. I don't know if it's one of you laughing, or both of you laughing, or maybe it's someone in the soundboard room or something. But you can almost hear in the background, like a little giggling or something. I don't know. It's very cool.
Yes.
Definitely, man. Yeah.
What do you think that there is I can sense that there's a theme for the album and the song, because it's very much, it's very personal, she seems very relationship driven. Am I on the right track with kind of, I mean, I don't know if you set out with a theme in mind. It sounds like everything was very organic, but it feels like, as I listen to the album and listen to the words, that it going back to that whole relationship thing there's a lot of that in there.
Yeah, and I think in a lot of different ways, it's sort of like a relationship to different things, even, there's a lot, but certainly I think that there's a closeness and all of the things that you're sort of describing are things that like Kate and I were experiencing in real time, like creating this thing together, and this very kind of insulated thing with the pandemic on top of it,
Right.
So we had our family pods that we were keeping so tight, and that we were, able to like continue this sort of creation and collaboration together. So, I mean, a lot of that intimacy and closeness comes from just us, our relationship growing, and like us learning so much more about each other as collaborators and friends. And
right. I noticed in a few songs that Kate, you're sort of bringing your other art into these songs. You talk about painting. There are references to painting in a few of these songs. I didn't know if that was again on purpose, or if it's again these things just sort of flowed from you, and obviously that is a big part of who you are as a painter. And
I think that I think for both of us, like I know like in Lay Down, you say like splash across some blue, purple in it too.
Yep.
Paint a World with You.
You said something on that song Us, as well. Something about it's sort of painting falls.
Yes, that was you. I think that, and he was painting a lot during that period too. And you started painting. I think that for sure it's like writing that, like this is what I'm interacting with. Like every day I'm playing my guitar, I'm processing life through either a paintbrush or, the guitar in my hand, like the tool for telling the stories. So, it's kind of cool how it showed up, because I think painting, or, the metaphor of talking about moving a brush or strokes or colors and all of that. It's very, I don't know, it plays well into the analogy of the songs.
I mean, it's all storytelling, right? I mean, these songs are stories. Your paintings, obviously, there are stories to tell when you paint too. Do you have, now that you've done both, do you have preference, probably the right word, because I'm sure you enjoy doing both. Do you think that there are stories that you can tell with your painting that you can't tell with song, and vice versa? Or do you feel like it's all interchangeable? It's just really a matter of just how you want to actually, again, tell that story, whether it's through your paintbrush or through a song?
Yeah, I think that there's something about making music with Eric and coming together to express a sentiment or to craft it together and to then open your mouth and let it out that way, and then connect with, if there's an audience there, or the sound, or being able to listen. Like, there's just a different experience that happens in my body, a different feeling. I don't sit and paint and get goosebumps.
Yeah.
Sit and paint and the experience, Trey, of like how music affects your body and you're crying. I mean, I've had an experience looking at art that, makes me tear up, but just what music and the creation of music does to my body is nothing like I've ever experienced with painting.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's such a cool story. Eric, have you enjoyed the painting side of it?
Yeah, I mean, it's part of that whole like extracting things in each other, it's like I used to find so much joy in painting, and I kind of like let the voices, interior or exterior voices kind of squash that boy.
Yeah.
And so when we first started, kind of collaborating, it was like, and having all these conversations around the truth and pulling in for inspiration from different places, and really stepping, into ourselves and into each other and into this collaboration. It was like it re-unlocked, this joy in that side of creativity, and it helped me break down these barriers that I had around specific ways of expressing myself.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like this flood of painting came out. And then it was sort of like, then it's kind of like music too. It's just like you get these dumps of inspiration, and then I feel like you can kind of reorganize them and put them in their sort of places, keep some of them in check, and
Yeah.
some of them along further.
Yeah. Not all of them are great, right? I mean, you just have to kind of mine for the gold, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. One thing that I remember when Kate, when you and Mike did that project and I'd heard about it, it reminded me of another artist who I greatly admire, named Joseph Arthur, singer-songwriter guy, who used to, and maybe still does, but I remember seeing him in the mid 2000s at the Crocodile. Not the Crocodile, I'm sorry. Actually, he did it at the Croc, but he used to do it at the Triple Door too. And he would live paint while playing music. And he worked with he had a jam man, and so he would create this incredible sonic landscape of music with just a guitar and a jam man, a drum beat, all these different guitar sounds, and loop them over each other. And then once he had the music going, he'd pick up that microphone, walk over to his paint, and live paint right there. And then the show was over. You'd sell those paintings, make a little extra cash, hit the road with that. But that, when I heard about your project with Mike, and then I saw some of the video of that, that was the first thing that came to mind. I was like, oh, you would think with artists, you would think there would be more of that almost. And maybe I'm just missing it, and there is, and I have no idea. But you would think that there would be a little more of that sort of collaboration, whether it's another artist or whether, it's a painter and singer, and you can do both. And, do you think that as you guys move forward, that'll be part of of what you guys want to do, like live on stage? Do you think you want to add that aspect?
I mean, I don't really. And speaking of Joseph, like he performed with us in New York and at See Here Now when I did the thing with Mike. You were right.
Oh, no kidding.
Brought Joseph in the mix. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, that's so funny.
So you're right.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I don't feel that need. Not
Okay.
even that need, but like,
Yeah.
I won't say no, but it just feels so, the expression feels so complete in a way with what
Right.
I just can't imagine
Yeah.
singing these songs and then like it just would feel
Yeah.
Distracting
Yeah.
almost. Yeah.
I know when you walked into Eric's studio that you probably didn't have any preconceived notions of what everything was going to look like, or maybe you did, but at any point did you think that it would either just be you? Did you think that Eric is going to get me a bass player and a drummer and like would put a band together around you? Like what vision did you have of what this was supposed to look like versus how it turned out?
I mean, that was
Yeah, I mean, we had planned, like, we went into, in our initial conversations anyway, it was like full pre-production mode in terms of what it would look like to make a Kate, Neckel record. That's what, she was coming here to do. And then I think it just, the collaboration blossom.
Yeah. And
like, I'm all about removing things of just getting it down to the,
Yeah.
like, you can do that, but do we need to do that? Like,
Yeah.
Once we connected and got to just, you know how it is. Like you talk with a person, then you get in the room with a person and it's all the energy and you're just like, what we need is just right here.
Yeah.
So let's do that first. And we're open, maybe we will bring other people in, the mix for live shows or for future albums, but
Yeah.
start with what's happening here.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I can tell you that I'm super excited to send your last album out to our vinyl club. But as I mentioned before we hit record on this, I did want to ask you guys a couple of questions. Number one, you guys look like you're in London Bridge right now,
Yeah.
and that there's no way that can be by accident. And so, may I assume that you are in the middle of the beginning, the middle, or the end of writing another album?
Yeah, most definitely can. That's a fair assessment. We did we spent some time doing some writing and a cool little recording retreat at this just gorgeous place in Katati called Prairie Sun, and it was like this wonderful little period of time where we got to just kind of get away from our norms here and put our heads down and write. And sort of just be in a different environment, and that was sort of the beginning of uncracking this whole other little era, I think, of songs, and now here we are, sort of finishing some of those up, and finishing some of those up has unlocked and unleashed like a whole other
The upcoming album. So we're gonna have some new music coming out soon. Mm-hmm. And then, working on the new album.
Are we looking at something fairly similar to what your first album was with Revere, or are we looking at like a expansion upon what you guys have already done?
I think a little bit of both. Yeah, I think there's certain elements that'll always be there, and certainly that underlying principle of it's got to come from an honest place. It's got to come from the truth. Is that's not going anywhere anytime soon. So I don't think you'll hear. It's not like a synth pop record or anything.
They're not going to be remixed versions at the on your local dance floor anytime soon.
Well, maybe that could be cool. Remixes, I'm all for it,
but yeah, but
yeah, but the vibe is still there, and I mean, we're certainly both playing with. We're both stretching. That's always important to both to
the songwriting, the structure, additional instruments beyond. It's pretty straight up acoustic with a little bit of electric.
Okay.
Reveille, and then a little bit of piano, but we're building. We're playing. We're having a good time.
Kate, were you a Patti Smith fan? I mean, you're from New York, right? I mean, Patti Smith is very much a New York
Icon.
for
Yeah.
sure. I remember on the last album with 3 pages in, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, this is something that Patti Smith would do, right?
I love that.
Maybe a little quieter version of what Patti Smith would do, but yeah, I didn't know if she has any inspiration, plays any inspiration in your life.
No, for sure. There's a it's funny that you say that. I felt like I wrote that song. There's, the point is, yes, Patty is like, her ability to touch many different mediums, whether it's writing a book about her experience with Robert Mapplethorpe, whether, just picking up a guitar and having the confidence to, wherever that St. Mark's Church, wherever she initially was, when she just was like turned poetry into a song and just
Right.
had her spirit and her attitude of just continuing to like uncover inspiration and, move forward with like her, just the spirit and the curiosity of, I don't know, of she's just, you can't put her into words. So
Yeah.
I definitely.
Well, I can feel that for sure with you. So
Chelsea, I grew up, I didn't grow up, but the Chelsea Hotel was right around the corner from my place in New York. Just that whole vibe. That whole vibe is.
Do you I don't know what your relationship with David Byrne is, other than the fact that you did that project with him, but now that you are a musician, you feel like, gosh, maybe I should call David up and see if he wants to collaborate with something.
I did think, I'm like, I should send him, the album, and no, like Lawaka Bop, his record label is right. It was all there, and this beautiful, I didn't realize at the time though, but yeah, his whole, it was like not like a Warhol factory, but just like, he's just the freedom. And the same thing with him, just following his curiosity and his passion. And he would just take pictures all weekend, then come put them up on the wall. And, Kate, what do you think of these photos? And what should we, just open and just a beautiful, curious spirit. And
he wrote one of my all-time favorite music books, which was How Music Works. And Eric, please tell me you read that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. That book just blew my mind open.
Yeah.
And he wrote that with the curiosity of someone discovering music for the first time. Like, he obviously has all this knowledge. I mean, years and years, but the way he would describe stuff to you in that book, talking about how, the reason churches were built the way they were for the instrumentation that they had at the time, it made the sound that much bigger, and just all the facts that went along with that. It was just a great book, and he's just an awesome dude. And maybe we'll get him out to the London Bridge studio, and he can do it out with you guys too. But even if
he's going to produce the next Copper Trees record.
Yeah, but even if he doesn't, I can't wait to hear the new Copper Trees album. And we are, for the folks who are watching this, for our Vinyl Club members, Kate and Eric and I were just talking before we jumped on here. We're going to try to have them back out. They played our place in Soto before in Seattle. We're going to try to have them back out sometime in the first quarter, probably February, maybe March, April. We have to find some dates that are going to work for all of us. And we'll get them back out to our Soto tasting room. And so if you missed them the first time, you guys have a chance to come out and actually hear the songs that you have on this amazing album live. And maybe they would grace us with some new songs too, if we'd be so lucky. So, but anyway, thanks so much, you guys. I really appreciate it. I'm excited to put your album in the hands of so many people. And oh, of course. Yeah, it's going to be awesome. And I'm looking forward to catching up with you guys back in person soon, for sure. Eric, we're going to be over. I know we're coming over for, we've got some stuff in January. Ben has a couple of shows I think we booked in February and March already with not Black Fett, but with Sonic
Guild.
Yes, Sonic Guild over at our place. So we'll be over a few times. So we need to, I know we've said it 5,000 times, but we really just need to get our families, or
Yeah.
at least our wives, and go have dinner somewhere together.
Get a hang in. Let's get a
Where
hang
we're,
in for
where
sure.
we're not actually working and we can just enjoy each other's company and stuff. So,
Oh man. Well, we appreciate you so much as always, Trey, and just it's always a joy chatting with you, man. And yeah, everything that's happening at Sleight of Hand, you're so such a steward of the music community and providing opportunities for folks to play out there. And we see you out there at Smash and Smooch and all the all the different
all the places.
all the places,
Good.
and all the right, causes and Vera and all of it. So thank you so much for that, man. That's huge.
we wouldn't, I wouldn't be here without music for sure. And I know you guys wouldn't either. And so it really does make the world go around. At least it makes my world go around. And so we're honored to support all those great organizations for sure, and honored to support you guys and independent music, which is very important. And honestly, if you have bands or musician friends that are looking for places to play and you think they'd be a good fit, you just send them my way. So we'd be happy to host them for sure. So
I've met one or two, so
okay, all right, awesome. All right, guys. Well, it's great to see y'all. Hope you enjoyed our little interview with Eric and Kate of the Copper Trees. Enjoy the album and support live music. And we'll see you guys soon. Bye.
everybody, thanks.
Bye. Thank